And I think we are live. Yes. Okay, let me switch. So, okay. Hello, everybody. Welcome to our panel this afternoon. I hope you all are having a wonderful time today. Hopefully you're enjoying the con, spending money, splashing money to vendors, chatting with your friends. Hopefully you're all having a wonderful time. So anyway, so today we are delivering a panel to you guys all about photography. A beginner's guide to photography with Zen and Ace. I said that the wrong way, Ace and Zen Fox. So funny enough, in the schedule it does say how to be Ace at photography, which was funny enough, not a pun that I came up with. It just so happens that it worked well, so I wanted it to be the title of the panel. I don't know why I decided to bring that up, but Zen, hello. Say hello. Okay, so yes, I am joined by Zen. Say hello, Zen, again.
Hello, everyone.
So today, what this panel is mostly going to be about is if you've ever wanted to maybe start doing photography, maybe as a hobby or just something in general, then hopefully this is the panel for you. Talking about the basics of photography. And hope that you enjoy it. So shall we continue?
Yep.
Right. So, introductions. So, who are these two random ponies presenting us a panel? So Zen, did you want to go first or should I go first?
You go first.
Okay, put me on the spot. Okay, so who am I? So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Ace, or known as That One Ace. You might have seen me around during the weekend. I am one of the moderators for this weekend. And I am a very big aviation enthusiast. I'm a massive av geek. I love planes ever since I was young. And I just basically love things that fly. Things that have wings, they fly. It makes it very interesting. So to follow up with that, I took the inspiration of doing photography for the last 2 years or so, a couple of years. So not that long generally, but I don't know. I just felt like it was a really good idea. Well, it was actually Zen who introduced me to photography, which we'll get to in a moment. And it's really helped me become very creative, inspired by doing something that I love, which is planes, and converting that into converting that into photography. And the last one, now for a lot of you watching, this may not be a shock to a lot of you, but I am a very big Sunburst fanboy. Again, some of you might think this is a bit of a shocker, but for some of you who do not know me, I am a very big fan of this orange wizardy beardy horse Sunburst. Yes. So Zen, do you want to go next?
I am Zen Fox. I am known as the train pony for reasons because I like trains. I've been a photographer since 2006, so a very long time.
Yes, longer than me, clearly.
Well, as we get to later on, I was teaching you how to do some of the tricks and trade.
Yes, you were my teacher. And go on.
I'm also a member of railway staff. I've been that since 2008. I won't say who I work for, but I work down in central London, serving a very busy commuter belt. And as you can see by the pictures next to my OC, I am a fan of the Kirin.
The Kirin fan.
Kirin fan, yeah. Specifically Autumn Blades.
Yes.
Because she is best Kirin.
And yeah, just For some people who know me, sometimes I'm known as the plane pony because I like planes, obviously, as I've stated. Right, shall we get to it?
Hit it.
Yep. Right. So, where to start? So, as I said, just at the start moments ago, if you've ever wanted to do something in photography, maybe you've always always wanted to do photography as being inspired by people, or maybe you wanted to learn some things about photography, or maybe it's not. Maybe you're just interested in the backstage, I guess, the what goes on behind, what the ifs and don'ts are. Then hopefully this panel will hopefully, fingers crossed, give you a little bit of inspiration. Let's see. So if you are considering doing photography, what is the first thing you should do? Now, personally, I would ask yourself what type of photography you would want to do. What inspires you? Now, what I've done is I've listed a few examples of quite popular types of photography, and I will mention that there is lots and lots and lots of different types of photography out there. There's something for everybody. So not specifically these 5, but these are more or less just examples of where to start if it is something that you're into. So the first one that we've got here is transport photography. So this is more or less what me and Zen do as well, normally, I guess. So as Zen has stated, he obviously likes to go after trains, essentially, railway enthusiast. And maybe if you guys out there are a railway fan, you like to chase trains. I can't speak. Or maybe if you're an aviation enthusiast like me, so you like to run after planes, try and capture them, do plane spotting like I do. Or maybe it's neither. Maybe you're a bus fan. Maybe you like buses, cars, if you're a big car enthusiast, or boats, trams, any types of mode of photography that takes your interest. It's a very type of I can't speak. A very popular type of photography. Did you want to add anything to that, Zen?
And not really. I know a few bus photographers, and there's even a friend of mine who lives south of Leicester. He does lorries, which he's only been doing that for the last 3 years or something like that. So
Yeah.
instead of just like the main 2, which is railway and aviation, as said, you've got buses, cars, boats. I can't think of anything else.
Basically what I've just mentioned, yeah.
Yeah, basically.
Okay, so the next one we've got is landscape. So this essentially is about enjoying the great outdoors. Do you enjoy going outside on a nice sunny day to your local park, or do you like going into the forest on a nice sunny day? Do you like to be surrounded by nature? And it doesn't specifically have to be parks or anything fancy like that. It could be anything that is natural, really. So mountains. Maybe you like to be up close in mountains. In some parts of the world, volcanoes. What was it? Gorges, canyons. That's what I was thinking of. Canyons. Maybe you like going after the ordinary in the world. Maybe when you're if you do like traveling for certain landscape, because there are a lot of places in the world with it, very interesting types of landscape, which is very popular by some photography enthusiasts. The next one is street photography, and I think me and Zen could probably both agree here that this is probably one of the biggest. I say one of the biggest, probably one of the most popular types of photography out there. At least me personally, I don't exactly. I'm not going to say understand it. I kind of understand what it's about, but I guess it's more or less doing street photography specifically. It's mostly all to do with artistic freedom, local agriculture, even detailed graffiti work, surprisingly. So maybe I think the best sort of example I could give is maybe places with a lot of historical um, architecture, maybe. So places like places in Europe, for example, like Portugal, Spain, that have very interesting I can't say the word architecture. There we go.
Even closer to home, like places like York, Edinburgh, even in my city, in London, providing you know where to go.
Yeah. So it's more or less the detail of what's going around you is more or less the point of street photography. Uh, what we got? Food photography. So maybe it's neither. Maybe you're a foodie, or maybe you like to make. Maybe you love to make food. Like to cook. Like to um, make people hungry. I guess. Because I do know I have a few friends who like to kind of show off what they like cooking, or like to cook, or maybe you have a food blog, perhaps, which again another popular type of photography. And at the bottom, we've got wildlife photography. So maybe you're fascinated by wildlife. Maybe you like to be up close with nature. Maybe places like Africa, for example, in like going on to safaris and really being up close to the wildlife. And it's again another very popular type of photography out there. So of course, like I said, there is many different types of photography out there. Like there's like fashion photography, which we won't talk about because it's a little bit more complex. This is more based on the basics of how to get into the hobby. So yeah, shall we continue, or is there anything you want to say?
No, we're good. Good. Go to the next one.
All right, so equipment. Right. What I'll do is I'll go first to start off. So I have made a pro tip on kind of getting into sort of camera types and whatnot. Always start small, because I'm pretty sure everybody watching this panel now have some, if they wanted to do photography and get some of the vital equipment, it's obviously going to be a different budget to everyone. Everybody's going to have a different budget. Not everybody's going to be able to fork out a few £100 on a decent camera, which is understandable because, you know, I've been in the same position. I think, haven't you been in that situation then as well?
Yeah, well, I've gone through a lot of cameras. I mean, my first digital camera was early 2007, and that was a little Fuji. I forget what it actually was. A little Fuji compact camera, and then over time, it just progressed to my SLR camera, which I use.
Yeah, it's kind of the same with me. Like I've still got a Kodak compact camera, which I've listed on here. I think that's how you say it. That exact model, which I still have to this day. I mean, I more or less won't use it unless I'm kind of in places where I don't need my bigger camera. But speaking about cameras, camera types. So there are 3 main types of cameras out there. So you've got DSLR, which stands for digital single lens reflex camera. I know it's a mouthful, but hey. Compact. So these are just generally still cameras. You know, as I've kind of made an example here of what we were just talking about. They're, you know, very, very easy to use, very basic. And of course, you've got phone camera, which I'm pretty sure 99% of us all here have some sort of smartphone with a camera. It speaks for itself. Zen, was there anything you wanted to say?
Apart from it, as already stated, depending what camera worked well for you, because if you start using a compact, you might stay with the compact, depending on what type of photography you're doing.
Of course, every camera has different dependables, if that's the right word to use, because it's
which we will get to.
which we will get to shortly.
Yeah.
So, instruments. So I have pointed out a few here. So we've got tripods, which speaks for itself. I'm pretty sure all of us know what they are, what they look like. I think it's more or less for like still action, I suppose. I have seen a lot of rail fans use tripods in like in stations. Then
although as a member of railway staff, it is generally frowned upon. We don't like tripods on the railway stations as a rule.
Also, sorry if the lighting's a bit weird because the sun's shining that way and the only light I've got is my lamp, so it makes the webcam a bit weird. So I apologize for the lighting not being that fantastic, but hey ho. Flash guns. So I think these are mostly for just for adding more flash, aren't they?
Yeah, mainly if you're like doing, like, I think it's mainly in fashion photography they use it, or if you're doing a nighttime shoot where you have a tripod as well, some people might use a flash gun. There are certain areas which you cannot use a flash gun or flash at all, which is like if you're doing road transport or rail transport, you cannot use flash at all, even in the darkest setting. So that won't fit for that type of photography, but it will fit for the others that were listed.
I think anything to do with like nighttime stuff as well, I guess.
As long as the object is not moving, or it's nothing that can be confused with something else, then it's generally allowed.
Right. Lenses. Now this is simple enough. So this is I suppose this is more specifically for like DSLR cameras, which the DSLR camera which I have listed, the Canon 4000, is actually my camera that I personally use. I think yours is Nikon, isn't it?
Yeah, Nikon D7000. My one is.
So I have listed the thing is with lenses is that there are many different types for different lengths of lenses. There is a lot. So you can have anything from like 75 to 300mm, which is the one I've got. 1855, which again I've also got. There's also 18 to 140. The list goes on. There really is no limit for lenses. There are lots of different lenses. I suppose the main point in lenses, if you are thinking, like, if you do have a DSLR camera and having the right sort of lens, always try to, especially if you have two lenses like me, so I have a long and short lens, it can be a little bit of trial and error sometimes, because sometimes I might be positions, if I am capturing planes anywhere, sometimes it all depends on my positioning, which we will get to later in the panel. But having too many lenses can be a little bit tricky, so I suppose the pro tip would be kind of stick to one lens that you feel comfortable with, I guess you would say.
Yeah, well,
something like that.
I'll go with that, because I used the 24 105 lens, and I just used the one lens because I've chopped and changed before, and over time it causes damage to your camera if you're doing it regularly. So I'd rather stick with the one lens, which with most of my locations what I go to regularly, I don't need no more than 50 to 75% zoom at the best of times.
I think that's sort of for me as well. I generally just do stick to one lens. Excuse me. But again, it all really depends. Sometimes it can be a bit trial and error. So, one moment. Right. Okay, so what's next? Phone versus camera. Now, the debate here is that sometimes choosing between phone and camera, I suppose, causes a little bit of controversy. because ultimately, well, which is better is the question, but I think the point is that there really is no better. I mean, I have listed some examples of where, both types of, both the camera and the phone, I should say, have their specific uses, I suppose. So,
Let me give some context to why this is a debate. It's back in 2012, one of the main railway magazines out there published an article about many people using camera phones or like iPads and stuff like that, and how these could take over from people lugging massive amounts of equipment across the country. And it stemmed into mainstream media, and people were concerned, especially in the camera industry, is that phones were going to get so technical that people won't need a camera. But with the first point, phone cameras have a limited spec.
yeah,
It's because it's a phone. It don't have a big image sensor inside the phone itself.
I think like most standard phones these days, no matter what you have, I think the standard type of is about, well, the standard phone lens is about 8 megapixels or something like that.
Oh,
Something like that.
my phone's
These days,
about 10, I think my phone is, without going into it. But I think at the time, I think with Samsung or Apple, I can't remember what, despite the fact that I've got the article right in front of me, which don't even list it. There was a phone that had 24 megapixel, and that was the worry that this was going to trigger just basically everyone getting a phone instead of getting an actual camera.
Sorry, did I interrupt you by saying that, or was there anything else you wanted to add?
No, you're good.
Nope. So yeah, continuing on with that, cameras with around 16 megapixels or more or less the sort of are the popular choice of camera. So this is more specifically for SLRs, although I'm pretty sure aren't there compact cameras that can get 16 megapixels?
One of my first compacts, well, wasn't exactly a compact, it was a cross between a compact and an SLR. That was 16 megapixel. So a compact can go up to that spec, I think even more than that. But mainly from 16 and above is for SLR.
Okay. Phone cameras are more useful in quick shot situations, which is generally true. I mean, you can easily pick up a phone, take a camera, and send it to your friend or post it online. That is more or less the most easiest thing you can do with a camera, and that's sort of the positive of that. Whereas, then cameras with lenses, obviously, you'd have to take 5-10 minutes to actually get it sorted. So there's one comparison. But saying that, SLRs, compacts, they are therefore more of the precise shot, whereas a camera has its moments depending on what it is you're shooting at. But as I said, I mean, both phone and semi-professional cameras are good in their own ways. There's different positive and negative things about both, but there is no winner, essentially, because they do really have their uses. Right, moving on. So sticking with that, so what I've done here, I'll try and explain this as quickly as I can before we move on. So here is a little bit of a comparison. So the image on the left is, well, I should say, this was taken at Burnham-on-Sea in the lovely county of Somerset, in case anybody is interested in knowing where this was taken, a few weeks ago, actually. So the image on the left is taken by my phone of the sunset, taken on my iPhone 10, don't judge me, taken on my iPhone 10. And the one on the right is with my SLR camera. Now, I'm not too sure if you can see this. I hope you can, but I'll try and explain it best I can. Is you can see there's some minor differences between both, because this is essentially the same sunset, the same moment I was switching between both cameras. But as you can see here, like the image on the left, so you can see that there's less shadowing going on the sides, whereas my SLR camera on the right has more shadowing surrounding surrounding the sand. There's more light, there's more intensity on the sun on the right than there is on the left. What else is there? And also, this is on maximum zoom on my phone camera. This is maximum zoom, whereas with my SLR, because I was using an 18 to 55mm lens, I can zoom in more to get essentially a better picture of it. But as I keep saying, there is really no winner between phone and camera, because I think we can all agree here that, you know, both of these pictures look fantastic. I'm pretty sure we can all agree here that both of them do look good. But this is more of an example of kind of comparing both phone and SLR cameras to their limit, to their maximum specs. So I'm kind of hoping that explains a little bit about that. Should we continue?
Yeah, let's go.
Right. Rules of hoof. Rules of hoof, or essentially rules of thumb. Now, this is one I did come up with, rules of hoof, so...
Now, this is the one I've been waiting for.
So, yes, you go. I'm assuming you want to talk first, so I'll let you go.
Yeah, and the first rule is the direction of sunlight is important. Now, it's not just sunlight, any lighting source, which we should have added, but the same rule applies. Is that if you look in the shot on the right, it's what we call it in the rail photography side, sun wrong side, where you are shooting into the sun, or the opposite, shooting wrong side of the sun, so the shadow is facing you.
So basically, I should elaborate, because I did take both of these images, because both of these are what I took. So what I've done here is the picture at the top, this Emirates 380, is facing towards the sun, but whereas the one on below, the Boeing 777 British Airways at the bottom, is facing against the sun. And you can kind of see a little bit of what looks better here, I guess.
Although I will say Sun versus Face describes me looking at some of my early photography, how bad it is compared to my photography nowadays.
But, well, was you going to say something else, or should we continue?
No, just basically get your where the sun is, and we will get to knowing where the sun is a bit later on. I think it's the next one after this, but we get that.
Yeah, essentially the main point here is the direction of sun is important if you are doing transport photography in particular, because I'm really hoping you can see this. Like the two both of these planes, at least where the lighting is, it is a significant difference. So, test shots. Now, this is more, again, for transport photography. I think Zem will agree with me as well, is that take practice shots before your key shot. So in this example, if there is a steam train, for example, that you are waiting for, obviously you want to make sure the steam train is like the best shot it can be, lighting and etc. So the best thing to do, if there is any like trains, for example, on the main line, or anything like that, or in my case, any planes that is kind of irrelevant for me to shoot, take pictures of them just to get a feel for it. Practice. It's always good to practice. It's better to be safe than sorry, essentially. Posture. Now, Zen, you have an interesting story about this, don't you?
Basically,
go on, sum it up.
It can go to any type of photography, but many years ago now, I think 2008, I tried to get some extra height by standing on a gate, which was fine. I got the shot, until I wanted to come back down. I came off the gate a lot quicker than what I should have done. And the point of that is, as the underline is, try not to hurt yourself.
Basically, try not to put yourself in awkward positions that's going to hurt you afterwards. Because I
mean,
think
that's not the only time I've done it. I've done it half a dozen times, I think. Another infamous incident was 2010, when I actually did end up twisting my ankle when there was a platform alteration and me and a group of friends were running to get in position for a train, and I fell down a flight of stairs.
Oh no, I shouldn't laugh at that, should I?
You should though, because it's all part of the experience. I mean, do not do it if you can avoid it, but if it happens, sort of thing.
I myself have lucky not to be in them positions, but the rule still applies. One thing I should mention actually is that I have kind of used editing software. Oh yeah, we didn't actually touch about editing software, did we? Which is a shame. Well, we can elaborate on it later if we need to. But yeah, I did essentially use editing software to brighten up the picture at the bottom to make it a little bit better. So that's one thing. I completely forgot about that, the editing software bit, but we'll get to that later. Weather. Keep an eye on the weather. Be precautious. That is all I will say. Because then I think,
considering where we are in the United Kingdom, we're not known for our sunshine over here. But yeah, just keep an eye on the weather the best you can.
I mean, especially if it's the situation where like you want to do landscape photography. I mean, obviously you're not going to go to the park, for example, and take a picture in the pouring rain. But that's obvious. So it's always best to be precautious. So please try and be precautious if it is anything that needs to be key with sunlight and weather. Oh dear. Zoom. Okay, so having too little or too much zoom isn't ideal. So basically what that means is, I suppose this is more for landscape photography, but it can really be for anything, I think. So let's just say, for example, if you're taking a picture of a mountain, for example, you don't want to be in a situation where if you have your SLR camera, for example, and you basically put it on maximum zoom, and essentially what's going to happen is that not all of it is in frame, which we will get to in a minute. So obviously you don't want to have too much zoom that you can't see the entirety of the mountain. And the same kind of goes with too little, because you might end up having more in the shot, whereas you really want to have a picture of this mountain or a volcano, anything. So having something in the middle, and again, having a few lenses as well, maybe a couple lenses. It's a bit of trial and error to get the best picture you can, if that kind of makes sense, hopefully. What's next? Oh yes. Now going back to sunlight, which I'll explain this. So this is a very helpful tool, which I suppose Zen does use this a lot, but I do tend to use this as well. Sorry if the sunlight is beaming through my room, it's making my entire room red, which is kind of annoying, but hey. So this is called photo ephemeris. I can never ever pronounce this properly. I don't think it's one of them words you can never pronounce.
Just call it TPE, not to be confused with the actual train company of the same three letters.
Basically.
But what this website basically does, it's a free website, although now you have to make an account. But
which is free. You can just make an account. It's totally free to use.
And you can type in any location where you are, and it shows you exactly where the sun is at any given time at any particular month.
And ironically, I have placed this in Nottingham because we were meant to be in Nottingham this weekend. So there you go.
The thick orange line on the left denotes the sun, with shadow being I don't know what colour it is, sort of light grey, bluish line on the right.
I think it's the light grey opposite to the orange line. That kind of makes sense, I think. Or it could be the grey at the bottom. Well, either way, you'd have to play around with this to kind of get to grips with it, essentially. But when you do get to grips with this tool, use it for sunlight. It's worth it.
Yes.
Moving on. Focus and frame. Now, Zen.
I'm not proud of that shot.
I know, that's why I kind of shouted you out first. Did you want to explain what's going on with that photo? Also, bonus points if you know which London Underground line this is, by the way.
Oh,
Leave it in the chat.
To sum it up quickly, is that this was taken in March, where a friend of ours came down and we were riding this particular tube line, and this train entered. I think it was Lambeth North Tube Station, if I remember, and I took it on my phone as a grab shot. And as you can clearly see, that is out of focus.
Quite significantly.
It's known in the trade as a howler.
A howler. Okay, so I suppose I might as well make a point and say that having pictures out of focus is quite a common thing, and it's something we can't always, or any photographer can avoid, I suppose. So in this case, if you are, again, we'll do the steam train example for this, is that if you are taking a picture of a fast moving object, the best mode on, I suppose, both it as an SLR camera and a compact camera, because I know a lot of compact cameras have that mode, always use sports mode, because you can get continuous shots every time you're pressing the button to basically snap it. So it's always best to do that rather than individually click, click, click. Always use sports mode for fast moving objects. And also, if the object is stationary, then that's obviously a bonus, because if it's stationary and it doesn't move, then it's more likely you're going to get a good shot of that picture. But if it's not, the best mode to use is sports mode, which leads on to my example. So that was Zen's picture of the tube train. Now this is my example with this Virgin Dreamliner departing down the runway at Heathrow, in case any of you wanted to know where that was. So having photographs out of frame isn't always a bad thing, because in this example, I have three sort of components going into this shot. I've got the Virgin Atlantic hangar in the background, the 747 if you just about see it in the background in the hangar, and then you've obviously got the plane rolling down the runway. So because this is 3-in-1, having it out of focus or having the plane out of focus isn't really a big deal. So this is still a significant shot. This is still a good shot, at least for me. And this can go for anything like if you're having multiple objects in your photograph. Whereas if this was just the Virgin Atlantic plane on its own, then it would be a little bit of a bad shot, because as you can see, and I will be a little bit technical saying this, is the horizontal stabilizers at the back and the half of the wing isn't in the shot. So again, like I said, if this was focused on that plane, personally it would be a bad shot, if that makes sense. I'm waffling on. I guess the main point of this is to really ask what type of perspective do you want. So as I said, 3-in-1, this shot's good. If it was 1, maybe not. And positioning, I don't actually know why I put positioning. I suppose it's all about finding the best position to take a photo. I think that's probably why I put that, I guess. Shall we continue?
Yeah.
Angle. So again, what I've kind of done here, is I've taken a picture. This is the same picture. Both of these images are the same. They're just at different angles. So this is just a picture from my local park, which I live quite near to. Now, if you look closely, I've highlighted a horizontal line going through the middle. You can see the picture on the left. I'm trying to think what the technical word is for this. It's not a bay because it's a lake. It's not the shore. I suppose the land. I'm not using the right vocabulary for that, but we'll just say the land for now. You can kind of see it's a bit out of the line. It's not straight essentially, whereas the one on the right, you can see it's perfectly aligned. Hopefully you can see that. Hopefully you can kind of understand what I'm talking about. The line is horizontal. So the main points here is to, oh dear. So the main point here is keep your camera nice and steady. If you're shooting something that's on a horizon, like a sunset, try and keep both the sea and sort of the sky with the horizon in the middle as straight as you can. And also, if it's not, do not be afraid to straighten the picture. There is no shame in straightening a picture that isn't straight. Simple as. Right, what have we got next? Upload. So this is more or less the kind of the final segment of this panel.
Shameless plug alert.
So we're both shouting out our website. So now that I suppose if you're in a position where you kind of want to show off your photography, maybe you want to consider making a website dedicated for your photography. Show off your creativity. So what you can see here is both mine and Zen's websites for our photography. I have put a link in case you want, if anyone's out there interested in seeing it, maybe. I won't be offended if you don't, but going into uploads. So where would be the best place to upload them? So the first one, which is one me and Zen both use, is Zenfolio. Isn't it, Zen?
Yes.
And I think, didn't you say it was about $60 a year?
Yeah, with Zenfolio, it's a subscription service. It's about $60 a year. I think conversion rate is about 50-something pounds or something like that. And
something like that.
It works well. It gives you the opportunity, unlimited space to upload your photos. You can make collections, galleries. You can edit your site to how you like it. You can sell photos if you choose to.
Although a bit more technical, but yeah, there's that option if you ever use Zenfolio. Next one is SmugMug, which is one I've not ever heard of, so I'll probably let Zen talk about this.
It's the same as Zenfolio. It's a subscription-based. And a bit of context quickly about SmugMug and Zenfolio. Up until 2011, there used to be another photo sharing site called PhotoPic, but that sadly went bust, and people were scrounging for somewhere else to host their pictures, and this is where Zenfolio and SmugMug came into their own. SmugMug is, as I said, the same as Zenfolio. It's unlimited uploads. You can change your site around to how you like it.
You can even start for free, as I've just noticed.
Well, both sites do have a free trial. I think it's a free 2-week trial, and if you don't like it, you just delete it and move on.
Next one, Zen.
Yeah.
Did you want me to? Yep, that's it. Okay.
Go,
I was making sure you didn't want to add anything else. Flickr. Now, this is a very useful one for new beginners because I do personally use this myself, which I'll talk about. So Flickr. Now, if you have photos you want to upload via a site, I would highly recommend Flickr because I would probably say it's a good site for beginners getting into photography because I think at the moment it's still free Although then I think you did say that that might change.
It is still free, but they do have a subscription base at the moment because a couple of years ago it was bought by Google. So Google might change it to be solely subscription based. That's worth keeping an eye on at the moment. But if you make an account from with Flickr, and get my sites confused there, then they will honour it, so you will not have to subscribe until like the following year. That's if they do put it in.
Okay, and I suppose the main one is social media. I mean, Instagram is a really good site for anything photography wise. Obviously, Twitter, Facebook. I am going to include Discord because nowadays people are using Discord because obviously the current situation in the world. You know, the basics. You know, or just any type of social media. Always recommend uploading your creativity. And I think that sort of comes to the conclusion of our panel. Now, before I talk about this, the next slide was going to be a Q&A, but I don't think we have time for a Q&A, I don't think. So I think what we'll do is we'll just probably call it on this slide, if that's all right, Zen.
Yeah, I mean, if anyone does have any
questions, feel free to DM us on Discord if you really would like to know something. But talking about conclusions, so...
Hang on, before we go into that, quickly going back to what we missed, which was editing software. Now...
Oh, yes. Should I go up the slide just to talk about it?
No, leave it. There are editing softwares out there which, if you need to brighten up, darken a shot, crop, rotate it. So if you've got a shot that's gone wrong, instead of deleting it, you can run it through the sites. The main one is Adobe, which you do have to pay for. I can't exactly remember how much. And then you've got free ones, which I think you use a free one, don't you?
Oh, yes, I do use a site called Be Funky, but essentially, if I do need to brighten up pictures of planes, then I can. Well, luckily enough, it is a free site. You can sign and make an account if you really want to. All I really use it for is just to brighten up pictures. That's really about it. Also, sorry, I interrupt you. I think we are able to do a little Q&A by the sounds of things.
How long we got left? So I can't see.
About 10 minutes or so, 7 minutes. So I'll try and go through this quickly as I can. Yeah. So basically, I'll just sum it up and say, if you want to do photography, what inspires you? Try and see what inspires you. Always start off small when doing photography. Don't expect to have a lot of money just to buy a big camera. Work up as you do. Be precautious of sunlight and positioning, especially, and just upload your creativity because we can, and it's a hobby. And yeah, that's really about it. So, as we said, we have a short Q&A, which what I'll have to do is I'll have to switch to my phone in the Yona Stage question chat. So let me have a look if there are any questions, if I can find it. Yona Stage questions. Oh dear, there is
Kieran.
There is Kieran, yes, but there is a few questions.
Oh.
I think. Hang on. Yes, I think. I keep saying I think, but I'm just looking at times. I thonk, yes. Let's have a look. So. Okay, so we do have a question by Hawthorne. Hello, Hawthorne. So Hawthorne asks, how much have... Well, I suppose this kind of goes between us, but let's say my piece. How much have, I suppose, we spent on your photography since you started? So I'm guessing.
no.
I'm guessing that's about camera equipment, I suppose. If I'm getting that right, something like that.
You go first because I'll need a pen and paper to tot this up.
I think my SLR camera. No, I should say my first camera, which is the compact camera, which I was talking about earlier, costed about £75. It's a decent camera. Whereas my SLR, the main one I use now, it was part of a bundle that I went for. I think because it was the camera and the two lenses, so it was two together rather than splitting it. Oh, I'm trying to think what it was. I think it was about £350, because usually 75mm or 75 to 300mm lenses are about £100, give or take, something about that.
So in total, you'll be about just under £500, let's say.
Something like that, yes.
Compared to me, because obviously I've done it longer, and that my grand total, including the equipment, is close to £5,000.
Oh, I did not know that at all.
I've had 3 SLRs, I've had 2 compacts, I've had I'm close to £5,000 with my in total.
I know there are cameras for like big long lenses. I don't know if anybody has seen or what I'm trying to talk about, but they do. Those sort of things can cost about like £2-3 grand. I don't do that because I don't need one.
Well, they cost more than the actual camera sometimes. How are we doing?
Next question. What's the longest journey you've made with the intention or seeing or photographing something in particular? What was it and why did you do it? So I suppose then I'll let you go first because you do a lot of travelling.
The furthest I've been for something, probably Carluke, which is near Glasgow. I've done that in a day for
Up north.
for a pair of 86s on a mail train, and the reason why I've done it because it had to be done. There's no way around it. It had to be done. I've got a thing for mad plans, as sure most people who know me will know by now.
For me, I mean, I am still wanting to expand. I mean, I have only done photography for a couple of years now. I think the longest I've really ever done anything semi-professional wise, if it's like plain wise, is probably, oh dear, there's a lot of choices. I suppose Heathrow, I suppose. London City, any London airports. I mean, I suppose I will say, like, when I do go to conventions like GalaCon, for example, because me and Zen, we did fly there a couple of times back in last year and the year before. We both flew there, so sometimes, well, I say sometimes, I don't know why, I did take my compact camera just to do gate shots, so basically anything on the apron, so I suppose that kind of counts. So I suppose Germany maybe is one, but again, I still am trying to expand as I go on.
We're looking now because I think that's
so we've got about 5-6 minutes or so, I think. Let me have a look. So Hawthorne, I'm guessing that's a question. Is that a question? Curious because you stated 2 years ago, wondering how much one spends in 2 years. Not a lot. I try not to. I try not to spend a lot.
Once you've got your camera and your camera equipment, you don't really spend. The only
Oh,
thing
that wasn't the question. That's all right.
Well, the only thing you really spend once you've got your camera is the cleaning gear, which is.
Oh yes, that's a good point. Another question. Ever gotten a shot ruined due to outside influence? Yes. I'm pretty sure both of us have. And it is a very, very annoying experience, which I'm pretty sure anyone who does like transport photography like us too has experienced at least once.
We call that in the railway photography being bold. Yeah. I don't know why we call it that, but yeah, when we're something which is outside interference, we're bold. Either by the most famous one we have is the one single cloud. It could be a clear blue sky. One cloud goes over the sun at the wrong moment.
Yeah, especially for me, like sometimes I do have to depend on weather sometimes. I can maybe get away with it sometimes if it's cloudy and all I can do is just brighten up via an editing software. But there have been times, well, I'll give an example which I could have done if this sort of answers the question. I don't know if any of you have heard, the Thursday, just gone, was the last ever Boeing 747s out of British Airways' fleet. I was going to go and capture it. However, the weather was it was just abysmal because there was low visibility, and low visibility, trying to get a good shot is not good.
It was grim on Thursday.
It was grim, so...
About 4 minutes or something?
Yes, trying to have a look. Flickr Pro is about £56 a year. Oh yeah, I didn't mention that. With Flickr you can get an extension which you'd have to pay for, but I'm glad somebody pointed that out actually.
I've not used Flickr since 2011, so.
Oh, I just realised I was in the wrong chat then. Oops.
Dun, dun, dun.
Okay, I think we'll make this the last question because otherwise we'll get kicked out. So I'll make this as the last question.
Yeah. Let's not try to delay anyone. I know that's my job, but
fingers crossed. So, how many lenses do you have, and do you have many for different situations? I have, as I've mentioned, I have 2. If I'm in a position where the plane is about, trying to think measurements, at least a fair distance away from me, so not like overhead, I would say more like, I don't know how to describe this. Basically, if it's more of a distance, if I need to use a lens, like my longer lens to get the shot, then I will use my longer lens. Whereas if it's something that's overhead, for example, or just something close up, then I will use the shorter one. I only really need 2 in my case.
As I've said, I use 1, but at one point I did use 3. But my current lens, it suits me down to the ground, and when I do upgrade to a new camera in a few years' time, that lens is coming with me.
Just quickly, apparently I've missed someone's question. I promise I'll make this the last question because apparently I've missed someone's question.
Well, we've got 2 minutes remaining, so.
I like anything with wings, Pegasus included ace. If you're asking if I'm a Pegasus, then yes. I like anything with wings.
Pegasus.
I don't know if that answered your question. I thought you were trying to ask maybe if I was a Pegasus. Yes, I am a Pegasus, and I guess I like wings. As weird as that sounds, I guess. Is that weird? I don't know.
And I think on that bombshell.
Right, that is going to be it because we are 1 minute. Not behind. We've got 1 minute due. So, thank you everyone for joining us today. Hopefully, we've inspired you. And I think that's it. Zen, anything you want to say?
No, it's just say thanks for listening to us to waffle, and enjoy the rest of the convention.
Yes. Enjoy. Spend money. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.